Jays Nation. Take a deep breath with me, because everything that happened in these last hours shook the hearts of the fans in a way only we understand. On one side, the still open wound of that World Series that slipped away in Game 7, with the Dodgers winning in extra innings and the whole storyline involving Blake Snell, his sudden drop in performance against Toronto, Vladdy's homer, and then that back and forth on social media. A mix of provocation, regret, and acknowledgement. On the other side, the immediate present. The urgent hunt for pitching reinforcements, Bichette turning down the qualifying offer, and the name gaining momentum behind the scenes. Freddie Peralta, maybe the piece that can change the entire direction of this rotation. All of this happening at the same time. Pain from the recent past, pressure from the future, and a fan base that carries the sound of the Rogers center in its chest, even when silence weighs heavy. If you live this blue the way I do, hit that like to show that the blue and white faithful never disappear, even when the world seems to collapse over Toronto. So let's go, Blue Jays Nation. Time to dive into the first story. The team had been carrying the weight of an entire season on its back. That feeling that this was finally the year to break the drought. Toronto had fought, had stolen improbable wins, had shown an identity of resilience that made the fan base believe for real. And when the World Series began, the atmosphere felt like the Rogers Center was pulsing even thousands of miles away. But on the other side stood the Los Angeles Dodgers team that had played the whole year like it had been built in a lab for that exact moment. And honestly, it kind of was. Another offseason full of star signings, Roki Sasaki arriving, Teoscar Hernandez reconnected with old roots, Kershaw hunting another chapter in his career, and Blake Snell, a two-time Cy Young winner, brought in on a $182 million deal, carrying the aura of a final piece. The Toronto Blue Jays entered Game 7 believing, and the game was so intense, so draining, that it only ended in extra innings with the title slipping away. And what came after, no one expected, because the emotional turning point of the story came from Snell himself. He had been a monster in the playoffs. A 0.86 ERA, 3 games of pure dominance. But when the World Series started, the nightmare came with it. In Game 5, 3 pitches, 2 home runs, and one of them came off the bat of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who made it clear that Toronto was alive, that Toronto was there to fight. The media pointed out, USA Today included, that Snell stuck with fastballs and paid the price. And then, after the title, when everyone expected silence, Snell jumped on social media, responding to fans. He joked about Vladdy being in Cancun, then tried to adjust his tone, asked people not to clip his quotes, praised Guerrero's series. That moment showed how pressure shaped everyone, even the champion. And it's impossible not to wonder, how much did that highlight reel moment change the dynamic between these players? And if Toronto felt the sting of defeat on the field, the fans. Oh, the fans reacted with a mix of frustration and pride, because seeing Guerrero launch a shot like that in the middle of the World Series reminded everyone what this team can be when everything clicks. But it also exposed how every detail matters, how every wrong decision can cost an entire story. For the front office, that moment meant more than a highlight. It was a mirror showing how much the team still needs to adjust if it wants to come back and actually win. For the fans, it was that painful deja vu of seasons where everything seemed one step away. But that step never came. And in the end, when the dust settled, came the reflection only the Blue Jays Nation truly understands. The contrast between the greatness of getting that far and the pain of leaving without the trophy. The memory of other runs where Toronto challenged giants but fell short. And emotional certainty, almost visceral, that this team still carries something special. Something you can't measure in numbers or ERA or million-dollar contracts. It's a hard Toronto, beating unevenly but beating strong. And this chapter, as heavy as it was, reinforces how much this fan base endures, suffers, and still stands tall. The feeling grows and grows deep So let's keep going. Blue Jays Nation. Because the second story goes straight to the future of this team. The current state of the Blue Jays rotation is that paradox only those who follow closely truly understand. The talent is there, the potential is there, but pieces have left, the depth has shrunk, and the front office knows they can't enter another long season without impact reinforcements. Especially after what happened in the World Series, when it became clear that this team is missing that one arm that changes its entire identity. And now, in the middle of rumor season, names have begun circulating with force. Tarek Skubal, Mackenzie Gore, and even Freddy Peralta. It's that moment when Toronto looks at the market and realizes the next step might decide everything. And what came next, no one expected, because the qualifying offer decisions shook the entire board. Bichette rejected his, which already sets off internal strategic alarms, while 4 players around the league accepted theirs, and among them, Brandon Woodruff, which directly affects Toronto. His signature keeps Milwaukee in a more comfortable position, and because of that, it opens the door to something that once felt like a dream: Freddy Peralta becoming available. Keegan Matheson of MLB.com didn't just mention Peralta. He practically stated that he is the dream acquisition for Toronto, emphasizing that he is the most attractive pitcher realistically available via trade. That alone stirred the Blue Jays Nation. And when executives began saying that Woodruff staying increases the chances of Milwaukee trading Peralta, things got serious. Does Toronto finally have a shot at bringing in a true ace? And behind the scenes, the tension is massive. Because the Brewers' president didn't sound thrilled about trading Peralta, but he didn't close the door either. Pawson explained that things became far more flexible with Woodruff accepting the qualifying offer. And Jim Bowden, long before, had already warned that Milwaukee might do exactly what they did with Corbin Burns. When you combine that with the fact that Peralta is coming off the best season of his career, 17 wins, 204 strikeouts, 1.08 whip, 2.90 ERA, and that his salary is extremely low for someone his level, it becomes obvious why half the MLB wants the same thing. The teams Bowden listed prove it: Red Sox, Orioles, Mets, Angels, Astros, Giants, Padres, Tigers. It's a line. And even if Toronto isn't on that list, the opportunity still exists. It's the kind of rumor that makes a fan base check their phones constantly, because any notification could change the future of the entire rotation. And in the final reflection, what all of this reveals is huge. The pursuit of Peralta represents more than just a trade. It's a symbol of a Toronto trying to avoid falling into the same cycle of past years, when good pieces were there, but never supported by the moves needed around them. It's as if this uncertainty mirrors other off-seasons in which the Blue Jays Nation waited, and the big move never came. Now, after the most painful defeat imaginable, the pressure to get it right is enormous, and the fans feel it. Because bringing in a true ace at this moment would be more than reinforcing the roster. It would be an emotional message that Toronto still wants to be great. A message that the blue and white heart still beats forward, not backward. And if this winter promises twists and turns, we know this fan base can handle every one of them. So let's close this story, Blue Jays Nation, the way this moment demands. These two stories side by side show exactly what it means to root for the Toronto Blue Jays. The fresh pain of that World Series loss of the edge, the emotional duel between Guerrero and Snell, the frustration still echoing, and at the same time, the hope that rises when the focus shifts to the future of the rotation, to possible trades, to Freddy Peralta's name appearing like that light that insists on shining even after the storm. With Toronto, it's always like this. We fall, we feel, we suffer, but the flame doesn't go out. Being a Blue Jay is believing even when the sky looks cloudy. And if you're part of this family, drop your thoughts in the comments and hit like to show that you love the Blue Jays.